Nothing is ever quite as it seems, is it? There I was, standing at my post on a sunny day in the heart of London, just like any other. The park by Buckingham Palace was bustling with tourists, a sea of faces from every corner of the globe, all come to witness a living piece of history and tradition. Us, the Guardsmen. I'm Henry Wills, 30 years old, a guardsman with sharp features and a gaze that could cut steel. My pale skin was a stark contrast against the vibrant red of my perfectly tailored uniform. The iconic black bearskin hat, perched atop, had only added to my imposing presence. For years, I'd served with unwavering discipline. The awe and respect my stoicism inspired was a source of quiet pride. Even under the relentless gazes of hundreds of tourists, I remained a pillar of composure. In the crowd that day was Mike Grant, an American tourist. Mid-40s, weathered face, sandy brown hair, and a build that suggested he wasn't a stranger to hard work or maybe just hard living. Mike had an air of arrogance about him that was hard to ignore. Dressed in a wrinkled Hawaiian shirt and khaki shorts, he was already drawing annoyed glances with his beer-fueled antics. But Mike was oblivious, his loud laughter slicing through the park's peaceful atmosphere. He'd spent most of the day heckling the guards, calling our rigid discipline ridiculous, over the top. Fueled by overconfidence and the desire for a viral social media moment, Mike decided to single me out. Phone camera rolling, he strutted forward, weaving through the crowd to plant himself directly in front of me. His movements were exaggerated, his smirk wide and mocking as he spoke. "Hey, tough guy, you even blink, or are you just some fancy statue?" His voice, loud and dripping with mockery, snagged the attention of nearby tourists who watched with growing unease. I remained still, jaw clenched, piercing gaze fixed straight ahead. Every inch of me screamed discipline. Even as Mike waved his hand inches from my face, the taunts growing louder. The crowd's murmurs of disapproval grew, but my training held firm. I knew the rules. No reaction unless a genuine threat arose. Frustrated by my lack of response, Mike escalated things suddenly. He shoved me. The push caught me off guard, making me stagger, but I kept my footing. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some tourists started recording, faces a mix of shock and disbelief. But Mike wasn't done. Emboldened by what he seemed to perceive as power, he delivered a second, harder shove. This time, it was enough force to knock me to the ground. I fell, my hat tumbling from my head and rolling across the pavement. The sound of my body hitting the ground echoed against the sudden silence of the crowd. For a brief moment, I lay there, hands braced against the pavement. A surge of anger pulsed through me, but years of training slammed the brakes on my emotions. Slowly, deliberately, I rose to my feet, brushing dust off my pristine uniform. My gray-blue eyes flicked briefly towards Mike, their intensity betraying the storm brewing beneath my calm exterior. Mike, meanwhile, just laughed louder, his voice grating like nails on a chalkboard in the stunned silence of the park. "Guess you're just for decoration after all," he sneered, arms spread wide as if reveling in victory. The crowd watched in stunned silence, some exchanging looks of disbelief, others stepping back, unsure what might happen next. Standing tall once more, I adjusted my rifle with precision. The air around me seemed to crackle with tension as the crowd held its collective breath. Every movement was deliberate, my composure unbroken, but the quiet power in my stance hinted at the restraint it took to stay within the bounds of my duty. As I regained my footing, a sharp ache pulsed through my ribs where I'd hit the unforgiving pavement. The physical pain was manageable, but the humiliation burned deeper, stoking a fire in my chest. Around me, the crowd stirred with murmurs, some in shock, others in disbelief. Phones hovered in the air, cameras capturing the aftermath of my fall. Not a single hand extended to help me up. The silence of the crowd spoke louder than any words, and the weight of it pressed heavily on my shoulders. For years, I had stood tall as a symbol of discipline and dignity, a guardian of tradition. Yet, in this moment, I felt small, stripped of the respect I had earned. Among the crowd, a young boy, no older than 8, clung to his mother's side. His wide eyes, filled with confusion, darted between me and the laughing man who had shoved me. Tugged on his mother's sleeve, the boy asked softly, "Mommy, why did that man hurt the soldier? Isn't he supposed to protect us?" The innocence in the child's voice struck me harder than the cold stone had. My jaw tightened, and I clenched my fist behind my back, my composure unyielding, even as my pride felt like it was crumbling into pieces. Mike, meanwhile, basked in the attention he thought he'd earned. His broad grin and confident posture oozed arrogance as he gestured to the crowd, his phone still recording. "Come on, people. Can't anyone take a joke?" he jeered, spinning around in search of an ally. "Let's see if anyone else here has a sense of humor." His laugh, loud and forced, echoed awkwardly in the increasingly tense air. The crowd, however, wasn't laughing. Whispers rippled through the group, their tone shifting from curiosity to discomfort. Faces that once held faint amusement now carried expressions of unease and disapproval. A middle-aged couple stepped hesitantly toward me, concern etched on their features. "Are you all right?" the man asked softly. But me, standing rigid once more, I shook my head slightly. "I'm fine," I replied quietly, my voice steady but clipped, every word deliberate, every movement precise. I adjusted my red tunic with practiced care, my hands trembling only slightly before clasping them tightly behind my back. My iconic black bearskin hat, now back in place, was a reminder of my station. Even if my confidence felt shaken beneath it, I stood resolute, my piercing blue-gray eyes fixed ahead, refusing to acknowledge the humiliation lingering in the air. To accept help would feel like a deeper wound, one I wasn't prepared to bear. The pain radiating from my ribs was nothing compared to the ache of my pride, but I buried it, deep beneath layers of discipline honed through years of service. The atmosphere grew heavier with each passing second. Mike, oblivious to the disapproval simmering around him, continued to grin as if he were the star of the show. But the crowd's murmurs grew louder, their unease more palpable. Though I stood as still and stoic as ever, the tension in my body betrayed the storm brewing beneath the surface. So, if you're wondering what happened next, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications. I'll be sharing the rest of the story in my next video. It might just end in a way you least expect,